some news that broke overnight. Although I had heard a few things last week, it is now, I guess, officially being put out there. Dave Meltzer reporting Ace Steel officially released from AEW.
I hate to hear that, because he was my hero in the whole thing. He's the one that really did all the damage. He came to like a knight in shining armor, came to the rescue of his poor crippled wife who was trapped in a room with a bunch of raging EVPs. And if it wasn't Larry that bit old Yeller over there, if it was indeed Ace Steel, and that was heroic, and the chair and the whole nine, it sounds like he was fucking Dick the Bruiser in this. I think he should be on top. He should be in the main event over there. No, I'm sorry to hear that, because he's a experienced veteran wrestler, trainer, etc., with a lot of fucking background in the wrestling business, the kind of guy that they need. If they didn't have the Cucamonga Kids and the weirdo from fucking Sapporo, causing all this trouble, they'd still have a valuable employee. So that's what I think about that.
They didn't really have much of a choice, though, with Ace Steel. Out of everyone involved in it, he seemed, as I said early on, there were two people who I thought would be gone coming out of this and the various things that led up to this, and I thought Ace Steel would definitely be one of them. He was there the shortest period of time. There's certainly been a lot of issues around the idea that it was put out there that CM Punk led to Colt Cabana being removed or almost fired. Well, I would assume that CM Punk is one of the people that led to Ace Steel being hired in the first place, just because of the situation. But he's gone now. How do you think this affects whatever else is going on with this mysterious investigation?
Well, that's the problem is Punk can't come back now if everything was okay. We've, concluded the investigation and the dipshits were at fault. Punk, come on back. He's just had surgery. So we may not know what's going on there. We may not know what's going on with the EVPs for a while. Didn't somebody say that Twinkle Toes couldn't appear in Mexico because he was still suspended at AAA?
Apparently Conan is the one who said that he asked Kenny Omega to record a video, just a short video, because I believe he is still... He's not the mega champion, right? He's the number one contender for their mega champion.
He's the mega King Kong Godzilla champion.
Isn't Chris Jericho the mega champion? But anyway, Kenny Omega couldn't send the video, and the reason that was put out there was because of legal issues.
Well, I think they ought to send him to Mexico for about 3 or 4 years. Just say work every night. That's how you can clear this whole thing up, and that way we wouldn't have to look at him. But everybody that wanted to search it out could easily find it. No, I don't know. Again, yeah, because Ace Steel's the one that, from what we can tell, did most of the damage. But whatever was left over the Punk didn't do, Steel did. So, he's not the main event star. He's not the world champion. He's not the guy that drew $1 million gates. So I guess they got to do something to make some people happy. But we will see when it gets down to, as well as everybody down south used to say, when it gets down to nut cutting time, we'll see what happens with the Mount Rushmore of the situation. Twinkle Toes, the Cucamonga Kids, and Punk.
Well, we shall see what happens, but before we move on, Jim, one more follow-up here. A story we recently talked about. This is breaking right now in the New York Post, exclusive. Director John Waters says he once saw Angela Lansbury at a sex club.
Oh!
Murder, she wrote. Crybaby director John Waters says he once saw the late, great Angela Lansbury at a sex club called Hellfire in New York City in the 80s. In Waters' 2019 book, Mr. Know-It-All, The Tarnished Wisdom of a Filth Elder. That's a great title. The King of Camp claims he once saw the Murder, She Wrote star checking out the scene at a spot described as a dungeon-like sex club that catered to gay and straight perverts alike. Waters is a huge fan of Lansbury.
They're equal opportunity, employment there.
Waters is a huge fan of Lansbury, telling Page Six exclusively, Angela was pure class. Even 40 years ago, when these kind of clubs were all the rage. It may have been the only night she was ever there, but just her presence made Hellfire a little more welcome.
I want to believe though that she was a regular member, and she was there every Saturday night. But she was there doing background, I'm sure, for a movie, a major motion picture, a sitcom, something of that nature.
The S&M Club was hidden away on 9th Street in the Meatpacking District.
The Meatpacking District. How much meat do they pack down there? You're a New York expert. Have you ever packed meat down there at the district?
The Meatpacking District is very different today. It's a little more upscale, and they've tried to develop it just like Hell's Kitchen and everything else in Manhattan.
Wait a minute. How is there upscale meatpacking? That's a pretty dirty business.
Well, it's a district.
It's messy.
It's not about the meat packing. It's about the district. It's a district, and they just kept the name.
Well, if that's a district where all they do is pack meat, there's fucking suet and, bones laying around in the streets, and there's blood running everywhere. The streets are running red with blood in the meatpacking district. You would have to think. It sounds like an unsavory place.
So if there's blood everywhere, who do you call? Murder, She Wrote. Call Angela Lansbury.
Well, that's why she was there.
She was looking for a gay or straight pervert at Hellfire.
That got murdered.
They got murdered in the Meatpacking District.
Because that's where all the blood is coming from that's running down there. But no, at one time, apparently, they packed a lot of meat. But now you're saying it's more upscale. They're not packing the meat like they used to down there.
Now, I'm not a sex club kind of person, and of course, New York was...
Well, that's not all there is.
No, there's always a good buffet.
Meat in a variety of ways. There's buffets, sex clubs, and meat packing.
People still talk about Plato's Retreat, but when you go to one of these clubs, I have to imagine in your head, if you think about some celebrity showing up, you're thinking about some beautiful model, some fantasy woman. Imagine, whatever you're doing there, you look up, oh my God, is that Angela Lansbury?
But like I say, in Gaslight, she was hot. 19 years old.
In Gaslight, she was hot. I'm talking about in Hellfire.
Well, in Damnation. Let's see, Gaslight was 1944. Is 40 years later, she's 60. Yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah, all right. Maybe I'll just pack some meat.
Well, perhaps you are a family member of Angela Lansbury listening to this show, and perhaps you originally planned on doing this transition after Ace Steel, but then we decided to talk about this breaking news about Angela Lansbury's sex life, or whatever there is going on here. Whatever it is, perhaps you hate the show this week and you just want to sue.
Well, in that case, I know exactly who to call.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Still sue the rest.
Well, I'll tell you, if you're intending to sue us, ladies and gentlemen, you better think twice and then think again, because our attorney is the legendary Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084. And let me tell you something, you would rather walk through hell with gasoline britches on, or you'd rather walk through hellfire with a gasoline cock ring on, than to mess with Stephen P. New. The headlines are out all over the state of West Virginia, but you remember this, Brian. State lawmakers want the truth about jail allegations. Stephen P. New has been stirring things up over there in the mountain state of West Virginia because he has brought to light incredible, draconian conditions at the West Virginia state jails. All the regional jails, they're overcrowded, they're falling apart. The inmates have been deprived of clean water, food, clothing, medical care. The Senate over there in West Virginia is up in arms about everything. Broken toilets infested with maggots. Holy mackerel. Jail's not a safe place to go anymore. I'm going to have to change my vacation plans. But Stephen P. New has brought this issue to the attention of the state government over there on behalf of the inmates. If he will represent the inmates, the poor and the downtrodden, then he'll represent you, the cult of Cornette, who are equally sometimes poor and downtrodden and taken advantage of and need somebody to carry the flag of justice for you. Well, let me tell you something. That is Stephen P. New at New Law Office. West Virginia Governor Jim Justice is quaking in his boots right now over the allegations, actually, that Stephen P. New will prove are facts on behalf of these poor prisoners. And he's also proving things on behalf of innocent citizens like you who have never picked a pocket. And Brian, you know this also, the way they've got these jails so overcrowded, the reason why, according to Brandon Steele, one of the state lawmakers over there, is because of the opioid crisis. They were built, these jails, for an inmate population that didn't have a huge drug problem. And Stephen P. New has been on the front lines of fighting the opioid crisis in West Virginia and all around the country as well. So he's got them coming and going. It's all interconnected. There's a big conspiracy here. Well, Stephen's getting to the root of it, and he can get to your root too. Whatever root that you've got that is ailing, Stephen will root it out and fix it. And again, he can represent the little guy just like he represents everybody. The little guys, the big guys, the short guys, the fat guys. He can represent your guy. Stephen P. New, newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084.